Alright, so this weekend sees the commencement of the third round of the 2014 Formula 1 World Championship this weekend in Bahrain. Now, before I get into things for this video, I'm going to start off with the current driver standings, and starting off with Nico Rosberg, who is on 43 points over Lewis Hamilton in second with 25. Fernando Alonso rounds out the podium in third place. Jenson Button is in fourth place with 23 points. Kevin Magnussen in fifth with 20. Nico Hülkenberg is in 6th with Sebastian Vettel right behind him on 15. And in 8th place we have Valtteri Bottas, Kimi Raikkonen and Felipe Massa rounding out the top 10 with 6 points. Now the remainder of the championship runners who have scored points this season are Jean-Eric Vergne, Daniel Kvyat and Sergio Perez. So that's the rundown of the current world drivers standings, and if you look down right at the bottom you can see Daniel Ricciardo there with a big fat 0 right next to his name. Now, he's had probably the worst start to the championship that any Red Bull driver has ever had, getting disqualified in Australia and then having a whole number of issues in Malaysia, which are now carrying over into Bahrain. Of course, he has that 10-place grid penalty, which will cost him in this race, so we'll see how he bounces back this weekend. But that's the driver standings right there. Let's move on now to the teams and how I think they'll go into this weekend. And starting off with Mercedes, and we really don't need to talk about them that much because, as you guys know, they're on fire and I can't really see them being stopped anytime soon. So we'll move on to Red Bull, and they've been very surprising this season. As I've said many times this season, they've really upped their game since the pre-season testing, but they still need a lot more development if they want to catch Mercedes in both the drivers and constructors championships. They also need to just eliminate all these mistakes they keep making. They keep just tampering with Daniel Ricciardo's car. They keep thinking they can get away with all these rule changes, and not rule changes, but just general rules and stuff. It seems that Red Bull are being very ignorant at the moment, thinking that they're almost above the FIA in some regards. But if they can sort that out, get some consistency back, and find that overall race pace and improve their engine speed, then they'll be right there in the championship. So we'll see how they bounce back later on in the season. But moving on now to Ferrari, and they've been consistently around the top 5, especially with Fernando Alonso. Kimi has been a bit of a mixed bag. He's always been around the top 10, but he's been very inconsistent, making mistakes, or he's not been comfortable with the car. So we're going to see how Kimi performs this weekend. He likes Bahrain. He's traditionally gone well here in the past, but we'll see how he treats his prancing horse this weekend. But I'm hoping he gets a good result out of this weekend. But moving on to Force India, and they've been fairly impressive with their performances so far this season, particularly Nico Hülkenberg, who's been constantly battling with Fernando Alonso in the opening couple of races. Sergio Perez has been a bit patchy. He's had a bit of bad luck too, only scoring 1 point so far this season, but we're only 2 races in, so there's no major dramas there. But as soon as he can get his form and luck back on his side, I'd expect him to be a regular points finisher, because that Force India is a very solid car this year. Moving on to Williams, and they've actually been pretty disappointing this year. Oh, not this year, just in Malaysia in general, because they showed so much promise in Melbourne, and then the high-speed nature of Malaysia sort of put them further back in the field. I'm not too sure if their car is just better suited to slower, more technical corners and tracks. Bahrain is one of them, so they might go well this weekend, so we'll see how they go. But I'm tipping Williams to bounce back this weekend, possibly with a top 5, and yeah, we'll see how they go this weekend. But McLaren are pretty much in a similar boat to Williams in that they really didn't show off too much pace this weekend in Malaysia. I'm saying this weekend because I'm recording it right after the race on Monday. But yeah, I think McLaren are probably one of those cars that aren't really suited to high speed and high downforce tracks. So a track like Bahrain may possibly suit McLaren, so I'm looking forward to how they'll go. And also with Kevin Magnussen after his retirement in Malaysia, it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back and how he can really respond to some yeah, just bad luck in general. So it'll be a real testing weekend for Magnussen to see if he really is a top line driver, which I think he is, and I think he'll bounce back very well, easily around that top 5. But moving on to Sauber, and they both got a double DNF in Malaysia, so they're looking a bit shady at the moment, and they still haven't scored any points in the Constructors either, so it's not been the greatest start to Sauber's campaign this year, but their speed is okay, and if they can get a good race together, good strategy, have some decent reliability, and I think some points will be just around the corner for Sauber. But moving on to the next team, and that is Toro Rosso, and they've been consistently scoring points so far this season. They got a double points finish in Australia, and I think what's his name? I should know this. Daniel Fiat scored 1 point in Malaysia as well. So they're looking fairly consistent. They've been very impressive, and I think they should be aiming for more points in Bahrain. Moving on to Lotus, and I've got mixed emotions about them. Grosjean finished in 11th, which was okay. They actually finished the race for once, which is promising. Their development is moving forward a little bit. It was only going to be a matter of time before Lotus got their stuff together, but they've still got a long way to go. They still need to get that consistency going and also find that car speed that they say that they have. We'll see if it plays out this weekend. Lotus have traditionally been very strong at Bahrain in the last couple of years. I believe they got a double podium in 2012, or was it 2013? They were very strong at Bahrain the last couple of years, so I know that much. So I expect them to be a little bit quicker than what they have been so far this season, but I still don't think they're ready to score points yet. That's just my opinion though, but what the hell do I know? Moving on to our next team, and that is Caterham, and just flipping my little notebook here, and yeah, both cars finished in the points in Malaysia, but that was about it. They won't score points unless there's like a 50 car pile up at turn 1 this weekend, so there's not much point in talking about them really. They're unfortunately just stuck being a back market team until they sort their lives out. But moving on to Marussia, and they're pretty much in the same boat. They'll be at the back of the grid, so their finishing position will be pretty much determined by how many people retire in the race. So that's been my wrap up of the teams throughout the field and how I think they'll go this weekend. So now that moves me on to my top 10 prediction for Bahrain. Alright, so here we go for my top 10 prediction for this weekend, and I traditionally always stuff these things up, but we'll see how we go this weekend. And starting off with pole position, I've gone with Nico Rosberg this time around. I think that Nico likes this track a little bit better than what Lewis does. I think he got pole this time last year as well, so this was sort of a good time for Nico Rosberg, and I think that this track will probably suit him just a little bit more than what it will Lewis Hamilton. And I also have Nico on to finish the race in first this weekend. I have Lewis Hamilton to finish in second. Of course, Mercedes aren't going to be beaten this weekend, surely, unless they do it to themselves through reliability. But in third place to round out the final podium position, I have Sebastian Vettel, with Daniel Ricciardo making his first appearance in my top 10 prediction. Hopefully this time it can remove the shackles and remove that luck, and I've got him in fourth place. So there we go there. In fifth place I've got Jenson Button. I think the McLarens will be a little bit quicker this weekend than what they were in Malaysia. In sixth I've got Fernando Alonso, who I really can't find a place any higher than that really. Seventh I've got Kevin Magnussen. Eighth Nico Hulkenberg. Ninth Felipe Massa. And rounding up the top 10 I have Kimi Raikkonen. So that's my top 10 prediction for this weekend. The night race in Bahrain is going to be an awesome spectacle under the lights. There's going to be a massive temperature change that comes with the night race, starting in the afternoon and then progressively fading into the night. I think it might be a big challenge for the teams to get their tyres working. You might see some teams falling away as the temperatures die away, so that's going to be very interesting to see how the teams manage that. But expect the race strategy to pretty much be the same as Melbourne. The tyre wear around Bahrain is pretty much the same as Melbourne, and we are running the exact same tyre compounds. The soft tyre, so the yellow wall tyre, and the prime tyre, which is the medium, the white wall tyre. So expect about 2 to 3 stops, probably 2 stops around Bahrain. The tyre wear shouldn't be that bad. But in saying that, the road surface is fairly abrasive around here, but due to the lower temperatures of the later start in the night race, I think it's really going to help out tyre wear a bit. So we'll see what happens, but I think the racing is going to be very good around here. A lot of passing with the DRS straights, And with so many straights on this track, it's really a stop-start kind of track, and I think it might burn up the fuel a little bit faster. So teams who can look after their fuel, Williams might come into play later on in the race. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, it's going to be very strategical, very fun, very exciting, and the spectacle of the night race will just make it even better. So that's been my top three, not my top three prediction, that's been my race preview for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Hopefully I can get to the end of this commentary without dying, but yeah, let me know what your top three predictions are for this weekend. I'll be interested to see what you guys think of everyone's prospects heading into this third round. But yeah, that's been this video for today. Tomorrow I've actually got a 25,000 subscriber video, so if you have any guesses as to what that might be, let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to see what you guys think that might be, but it's definitely a worthwhile watch. Check it out and subscribe to the channel if you're new. But yeah, that's been this video for today. Until my next one, guys, I'll see you next time.